This is standard number 48, solving systems by elimination, just a little more complex than standard 47. All right, so go ahead and write down your steps. Really the only new step is this first step here, and then steps 2 and steps 3 are the same from standard 47. Okay, so the first step, we want to multiply at least one equation by a constant, which is just any number. We're going to add the equations together and then plug back in to find our other variable. Okay, so let's take a look at example 1. Our goal is to get a variable to cancel out. So if I added these together right now, 5x plus 2x would give me 7x, 6y plus 3y would give me 9y, nothing would cancel out. Okay, so that's why we need to multiply at least one of our equations by a number. Okay, so our goal is for the coefficient or the number in front of the variable to be the same but different signs. Okay, so let's just take a look at our y's. What I want is to get my y's to cancel out, I would want this one to be a negative 6y. Okay, in order to make 3y a negative 6y, I would have to multiply by a negative 2. Okay, so let's see what happens. When I do this, I need to multiply negative 2 to every single term. So I'm going to do negative 2 times 2x, which is a negative 4x. I'm going to do negative 2 times 3y, which is going to give me a negative 6y. And then also, don't forget this part, negative 2 times negative 5 is a positive 10. Okay? I'm not going to multiply anything to this first equation, so I'm just going to copy it over how I see. So 5x plus 6y equals negative 8. All right, so now, same thing from standard 47, we're going to add these equations together. Okay, so 5x plus a negative 4x is going to give me a positive 1x. 6y plus negative 6y, that's 0, so those are just going to cancel out. And then I'm going to do negative 8 plus 10, which is going to give me a positive 2. All right, so now we can divide by 1 on each side, but we're just going to x equals 2. So remember, we're talking about a solution to a system of equation. You're going to get a point x comma y. Okay, so we already have our x value of our point, but we still need to find what our y value is. And to do that, we're going to take our x value and plug it back into one of our equations. Either one will work just fine. I'm just going to plug it back into this first equation. So I'm going to do 5 times 2 plus 6y equals negative 8. Okay, this is going to give me 10 plus 6y equals negative 8. We're solving for y, so I'm going to subtract 10 on both sides. I would get 6y equals a negative 18. And then last step, divide 6 on both sides. So I would get a y equals negative 3. Okay, so we have our y value. Now I'm just going to put that back on my point. So my point, my solution to my system is this point to negative 3. All right, so let's look at another example. In this example, so let's take a look at our x's. I have a 3x and a 3x. So right now they're the same coefficient, but remember we want them to be a different sign. So in order to do that, I'm just going to multiply this first equation by a negative 1. Okay, so when I do that, I would have negative 3x, negative 1 times negative 5y would give me a positive 5y. And then negative 1 times 10 would give me a negative 10. All right, I'm not going to do anything to my second equation, so I'm just going to bring that over. 3x minus 5y equals 7. Okay, so now we're going to add these together. I'm going to do negative 3x plus 3x. That's just going to give me 0, so those cancel out. 5y plus negative 5y. That's also going to give me 0, so those cancel out. On this side of the equal sign, I just have 0. And then over here, negative 10 plus 7 is going to give me a negative 3. Okay, so an answer like this, 0 equals negative 3, that's not a true statement, so this is going to be no solution. Okay, if it were a true statement, like negative 3 equals negative 3, it would be infinite solutions. Okay, so now we're going to look at an example where we have to multiply both of our equations. Okay, so let's take a look at our x's. We want the coefficient to be the same but different signs. Okay, so we want to think about a number that 3 and 4 could evenly go into. that number could be a 12. So what I want is my coefficient to both be 12, one be negative, one be positive. So to make a positive 4x, let's say a negative 12, I'm going to multiply by a negative 3, okay? And then I'm going to multiply this one to make a 3x, 12x, I'm going to multiply it by 4. Okay, so we're going to go through and multiply both of our equations. So negative 3 times 4x is going to give me a negative 12x. Negative 3 times 2y is going to give me a negative 6y. And then negative 3 times 8, don't forget to multiply to the 8, is going to give me a negative 24. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing down here. We're going to multiply this 4 through. 4 times 3x is 12x. 4 times 3y is 12y. And then 4 times 9 is going to give me 36. All right, so let's add these together. When I add these together, negative 12x plus 12x, these are going to cancel out. Okay, remember that's what we want to happen. We want one of our variables to cancel out. Okay, so now I'm going to add negative 6y plus 12y. That's going to give me a positive 6y. And then we're going to do negative 24 plus 36, and that's going to give me a positive 12. Okay, so now let's just solve for our variable. Divide 6 on both sides. I would get y equals 2. Okay, so remember our solution to our system always needs to be a point x, y. Okay, we found our y value is 2, but I still need to find what my x value is. To do that, I'm going to plug my y value back into one of these equations. It does not matter which one. I'm just going to take this first equation, 4x plus 2y equals 8. Okay, and then I'm going to plug this y value of 2 in. So I would have 4x plus 2 times 2 equals 8. And now we just need to solve this for our variable. Okay, so equals 8. Solving for x, we would subtract 4 on both sides. I would get 4x equals 4. And then divide by 4 on both sides. So we would get x equals 1. Okay, so now that I have my x value, I'm just going to plug it back into my point. So the solution to my system would be this 0.12. Okay, so here are 2 problems for you to try on your own. Remember, you need to at least give a good try to both problems to get full points. So bring these tomorrow for us to check.